figure that shit out. I'm trying to type in the chat. Let me know if people could see me, hear me now. So, guys, this is first of all, I want to let people know that the last few the last few nights have been some of the most intense dream trances and visions and dream times that I've ever experienced in my life, and in recall as well. In fact, I planned on doing a live stream last night and I apologize because I couldn't stay awake, and all of a sudden it was like I was being called. I couldn't even keep my head up. I was just so exhausted. And then similar to before, like you don't even remember like falling asleep, and what's interesting is my guest the other night, Reverend David Parry, he talked about the same experience that happened to him when he was younger. And I do feel that it's part of, even when I was born, being born with the call. I know this is going to sound intense, and it's going to sound bizarre to most people, and most people can't accept things like this. But there is some sort of ancient technology that I don't understand how. Of course, I can't definitely prove it right now. But there is something that's tapping in to a baby as soon as the soul is in the womb, as soon as the baby is conceived and there's life. There's some sort of technology that's tapping in to the womb. And I don't know if it happens, whether it's literally like while it's in the mother's womb or as soon as it leaves that stargate of the mother, right when it comes from the unconscious spiritual world to now it's experiencing this physical realm. And maybe even we're not supposed to be born with amnesia the way we are now. You could see most animals that maybe it's because of the nature basically forcing them to manifest those capabilities because of the cruelties of the reality of nature. But like when a deer comes out, right? A deer can basically walk, right? A deer, as soon as it comes out of the mother, I mean, it basically can walk within a few minutes or a few seconds, right? And most animals, most species have a recall to some degree. We, on the other hand, it takes a long time, and it seems like we don't ever have recall of our origins and who we are. So maybe, now all myths start somewhere, if you want to call them myths. Myths come from true history. So deep within, I don't know about, actually it's in most cultures. Most if you look in the esoteric or the spiritual side of things, or if you look into the shamanistic cultures, or any sort of spiritualists, or anything like that, most, and let me remind you, before Christianity started to infiltrate all of society, pretty much 100% of the population believed in spiritualism. What I mean is that there is all sorts of unseen forces connected to both animate and inanimate objects. And believed in this. It's just a way of life. Psychic energy is just a normal condition. Now, um, I feel that those are that were born with the call, and it's in all of ancient literature when you go to shamanism and Italian cultures, especially. You know, I've researched, of course, my Italian background because of my own experiences, but while I'm researching I'm finding other cultures similar belief systems. So the call is the amniotic sac that you're born in, and a lot of times you find that when a baby is born with still the call around them, they also have the umbilical cord wrapped around their necks. It's like something's already trying to kill them within the womb, and defense mechanism. It's a transport device between realms, and it's protecting you, and it's part of who you are when you're in the mother's womb. It's like a living, breathing wall of information, and I think that scientists, doctors, they don't really even understand the true meaning of this. And when a baby is born with that call, it's said that it grows up to be have more psychic information, a connection to the spiritual realms, a seer, a prophet, visions, things like this. That it's born with more capabilities when it comes to your other bodies, your spiritual bodies, and your connection to the where we're from, in fact. And it's I think somehow we're on a database too as well, that they keep records of certain babies born like this and this like that and all sorts of things. But that I don't want to get into a whole paranoia controversy. But I've had problems my whole life with forces coming after me in certain ways. So and trying to eliminate my connection to spirit, and it's happened, and it can't. No amount of drugs in the world, no amount of negative forces can get in the way of my connection to spirit. They can numb your body, they could do whatever, but if you're meant to be, it's going to come to you. It's going to be. You're not going to get in the way of it. I've gotten sidetracked before in my life, but they will never, So if one day, I'm not able to be on this physical realm anymore because of the spiritual activity, I'm willing to step up to the plate like that. Like that's part of our life's mission. That's part of it all. We all have a certain path that we have to follow. That the more you deny who you are spiritually, the more I feel that it gets embedded within your genetic code. And that's not something that I would like to pass on to my daughter or any other ancestors that I might have. So it's very important for us to connect back to source and to connect who we are, you know. And there's things I've been shown these last several weeks that are mind bending, and it's more than just a vivid imagination or you know just fantasies. So when you have someone that's just not only I've been psychic pretty much my whole life, and I've had certain experiences I think that triggered it and activated it, but I've also done DMT. I mean, not DMT, but ayahuasca. This was over damn near 15, over 15 years ago now. I've only done it once, but it was a 3 day thing. I actually went to a shaman in South America and everything like this. So this is this was something that I didn't think that I would ever do, in my life or something like that. So I've opened some doorways on in my life that when you research certain topics, and even when you read a book or when you do it, it's going to bring you more information than the author provides. And you're going to get a flood of just a knowing about certain things. And there's been a spiritual war on many levels of our higher dimensional brain for I don't know how long, a very long time. So it's a domino effect. So that's why we are at war here. And the sacred fire that we have, our spiritual fire, it's you could see that it's corrupt. So the sacred fire that you see on the planet, like volcanoes and volcanic smoke, you're going to see physical manifestations coming out into this realm because of the physical war taking place on our realm. It's like it's a manifestation of the spiritual activity happening on the other realms. So those times you see like demonic entities coming out of explosions or volcanic smoke and things like this, literal beings forming within the smoke. These are physical manifestations in this realm of what's taking place in a slightly different realm of that same place in another realm. It's like I don't know how to describe it any better, but it's like it's the manifestation of that war taking place in our spiritual realm. It's showing itself as volcanic explosions and smoke rising and all of this stuff, gaseous smoke and all of that. Now, when we look into the ancients, right? When we look into the ancient stories, we can't think like these people just because they were long ago, that there was primitive technology. And there's something very interesting that I want to talk about. And hopefully today we're going to do an earlier, I'm not going to try to plan it late tonight because after the baby falls asleep and everything like that, it's hard to go live. So we're going to try to do a live chat earlier today, either on Zoom for my patrons, or if they're not available, we'll do it right here live on YouTube. Now, there's various things that I need to talk about that I saw that is very important to get out there, because it shows people how you can heal in dream time. You can use your spirit body and connect to your higher self to deal with certain things. And when we think about what cybernetics is, cybernetics is basically the control and communication between living things and machine, right? Or, it could be within plants, it could be within people, it could be within the machine. And you have to keep a successful interaction between all these different components to keep a system running, right? This is cybernetics, right? So in ancient times, they had a technology that blended a fusion between worlds, and it was a cleaner technology than we have now. And right now we have a duplicate of that spiritual technology, like I've been talking about. Now, I try to explain this so the best way, so everybody, even if they're not into these topics, if they're hearing this for the first time, can try to understand. Because it's not that it's like I'm super like crazy intelligent high tech, but it's I try to break it down where I don't sound like too crazy, because some people are like, what the hell is he talking about? But so in ancient times, they had a force that blends worlds, right? A technology that can blend worlds, spiritual technology that can blend worlds. What I mean is, it's sort of like a fusion between something that's alive and like something that's material, even uh, natural and digital. But it was a different kind of digital. It's the way we see in our higher dimensional brain, uh, codings, symbols, uh, even within the center of eyes of a fit. It's a knowing, but it's a scripted, encoded, embedded knowing of symbols and expressions, and it's so this is what actually, when you see hieroglyphics, this is the physical manifestation in this realm of the spiritual knowledge in the other realm of how it's working. So there were times in the ancient world, right in some of the tablets that we have, right in some of the papyrus we have, some of the cuneiform tablets, some of these ancient writings, we have examples of, thank you everybody, uh, thoughts and perceptions, no doubt. Um, so I know when people, I'll give you an example, because this is the stuff that we're going to be talking about today on my Patreon, and it's definitely going down. People got to bear with me the last few weeks. I've been, not only my spiritual obligations as a reverend, as a spiritual soldier, but I've been called to dream time. I've been called to spirit time lately, and I'm going to explain some of the things that I've saw that I could just recall. Some of it's a little foggy, but like last night, I only could recall a little bit, and I just don't understand it because it was like I was around an African voodoo house, and they were trying to get me to drink something or take something, and I was like fighting it off. Let me let me butt in for a second now and let people know that this is very important. If if you ever have some sort of encounter, whether it's in dream time, spirit time, or your physical life here, if it happens like a physical manifestation in the woods or somewhere where trees and everywhere else can activate something like this. If you have any sort of encounter with what you would call a fae, and they offer you anything to drink or eat or take, don't accept it. Um, Especially what we would call the lassa or the filetto or filetti, or what Romans call the lares, or the fae. A lot of times they're pictured with vials around their neck, or this is because you see them sometimes carrying a little vial, a little amulet of liquid. This is I feel what can translate to sort of like a nanotechnology. Within the liquid are sparkling crystals of plasmic little beings that can come into your bloodstream. It can do all sorts of things and enchant you. So it's a technology, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Even in ancient Greece, all right. Most people think of the Delphi oracles, right? But there's also another oracle center, oracle spot that's really important, and that's not Delphi, and that's Dodona. Now, Dodona is a place that Zeus chose, and Athena is associated with this as well. Athena is Isis, same thing. You can even Plutarch talks about how Athena could be is Isis, same character, just like Apollo and Hermes and Ra and all these plays, the same character, Zeus. So they built right on that spot, Dodona, a very, very interesting oracle. And this is where even Jason and the Argonauts from the forest of Dodona got some of their cybernetic technology for their interdimensional craft, if you want to say, traveling through the realms. Um, so I think they were time travelers in a way, or something like this. Now they were making a fusion basically between the oaks of the Dodona forest the oak tree. I don't know if they're evergreens or there's some sort of oak in the Dodona forest there, and digital and some sort of living, breathing technology. Uh, and they molded these two. They made cybernetic timbers, cybernetic oak, where there was a communication and it was flowing and moving, and the 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 wood is becomes alive and literally can be used for sort of like a blend between a spiritual digital, a living breathing, almost like it's a water, but it's the wood as well. It's a welding between the two, a fusion between this two. And they were using this in the ship of the Argonauts, the Argo, and the cybernetic timbers of the Dodona forest and other places like the cedars of Lebanon. Certain woods are have been used by the quote unquote gods, the Grigori, if you want to say. And when they came into this realm, they took the knowledge of their spiritual realm and their other realm that they were coming from, their other interdimensional realm, and they were able to encode and blend that technology with certain things on our planet. And this is what you have in Dodana for sure. And this is exactly what I was shown, that Isis and Anubis and Horus, all of these ancient beings that are just basically uh, time travelers. I feel they were here into this reality somehow. They were able to take physical form and take and physical manifestations in this realm and changed our world, and I think that they're trying once again to accelerate the technology on this planet to bring another form, it's a replication though of the old technology, a copy. And I think that it's a dirtier version than what was once used in Atlantis and civilizations like that. Now, I and everybody, you could support me in Super Chat. You could support me on PayPal. It's probably better. On my website, themysticalspiral.com. Uh, I've gotten a few donations that people have been very generous lately. This got to keep coming because I need equipment. We needed a place to live, me and my family. So my research depends on you. My time depends on you. So we're trying to get a new place because we're living with family members right now. So it's a little rough sometimes if I can't do a live video, and I need new equipment and things like this. So the second I get more set up, the more secure I will be able to have a better platform for you guys and all of us. So it takes some work and it takes time, and I've dedicated my whole life to finding answers for all of us, and it's up to all of us to help each other out in these times. And I want to thank a lot of people that have been supporters of me lately, and hopefully this grows so we can really help each other. My website's themysticalspiral.com. You can find my PayPal there. Also, patreon.com/themysticalspiral. I know I've been slacking a little bit the last 2 weeks or so, but usually I have daily articles on there, daily information. We're starting our weekly Zoom chats again for subscribers, and I have real paranormal proof over there. I have over 900 posts that you can binge watch and scroll through with actual pictures and videos where I've had Fey encounters. People say, oh, you guys talk about all these topics, but you never get proof. I have real proof of plasmic creatures. I got real proof of dimensional gateways, all sorts of things, because the spiritual realms are alive and it's around all of us at all times. You just got to know what to look for and listen to the voice of the wind and follow your heart center, and it'll open up. Things start to open up around you, and sometimes you catch physical manifestations of what you experience in the physical realm, in the spiritual realm, right here on this, right in front of our eyes. And sometimes the camera catches things that we don't catch with our like little bit of spectrum that we can actually see in. and we've been blinded in many ways. So Isis, the the goddess Isis of ancient Egypt, had and Anubis, all of this. I even was shown, and it's right there written in front of us on papyrus. The ancients, there's a reason why they were scribing this stuff and risked their lives to bury it and build monuments to encode this information within it. Isis used spiritual garments as well as Anubis. Anubis would prepare the body for death, right? Egyptians would wrap the body in a certain way and use the scarabus technology that we'll be elaborating on later on. I've talked about it before, but I'm pressed for time right now. I got to go grab some stuff for the baby, and I have to do a few things, and then we're going to go live right from my home base. So when Horus was a little baby, it's written right in some of the papyrus and some of the ancient stories from ancient Egypt, especially when Isis was. There's a story about when Horus was a little baby and when Isis basically had to prepare Osiris's body. I mean, when Osiris was dead and she was able to collect the parts, and he was basically able to. Somebody's coming over here right now. I don't know why they're walking my way, but when this story that when Horus was like right besides her, supposedly like in the crib, while she's preparing the body, and she had to wrap the body in a certain garment. Now, I don't really think that they're talking about just a regular garment. This is some sort of spiritual garment, some sort of embedded, weaved, a fusion between physical materials that'll preserve the body and wrap the body, and some sort of spiritual digital, some sort of spiritual symboled encoding. It's a fusion, a welding between preservation materials, right, and a spiritual encoding, a spiritual weaving, like a spider web of information. And she was even right in the papyrus tablets. I mean, not tablets, but the ancient papyrus, especially. There's a lot of them that are talking about the spiritual technology or the spiritual use of these ancient ones, right? And when they were preparing the bodies for the dead, I do feel that when wrapping the body, she was weaving something that was more than just physical materials. It was a spiritual encoding, a spiritual technology that is very important for us to understand and learn again. And I think that what we do now with the embalming is a crude downplay, you know. Yeah, who's ever in the chat room saying semantics and all that? Yeah, we definitely should talk. You definitely know what I'm talking about, and definitely on the right track for sure. Let me see. I'm walking to my car. So, what's interesting is that I've been shown literally the halls of Amenti, and I'm pretty sure this is what Edgar Casey was experiencing. And I think I have a similar, I don't want to say ability, but a similar thing that happened to Edgar Casey, I think happened to my brain as well, my body. Although it's not the same as he describes. It's because I don't have to be asleep. Like yeah, of course, when I sleep, uh, I just wake up with a knowing of stuff, and I have to write it down and just let it go. Um, but I come back with recall sometimes of like up to a couple of minutes of intense and stuff. Sometimes it's hard to understand and put together, but the recall is pretty bizarre because it's not like even any thinking involved. It's just something I just wake up with, and that is very similar to what Edgar Casey talked about. Um, I haven't read all of his work. I just have some stuff that I've read about him, but from what I have read, it's very similar to some of the things that I've experienced and I've written down and that I've seen. Um, and one thing that he talks about is the Hall of Records, right? And even he's talked about some of his channelings. I've heard he's mentioned like 6 to 7 foot blonde-haired, six-fingered men or beings, and or red-haired. And this is something that I've seen before, but they were very long and they had like a V-shaped chest, almost like it was like a real small waist, and their shoulders went up into like a V, almost like they had football shoulders, and they were floating, and like they had no feet. I didn't even see feet. I just saw long, long fingers and just white eyes and red hair. No pupils, just white eyes. And I've talked about that before, that they were, I feel they were protecting information. And it was uh, it was interesting because I used what is called the gesture of Ka, when you put your arms out like this and your hands up, and it would make them disappear into a dot, and I was able to just like brush it away, knock it away. So this is stuff that is more than just dreams. And what's very interesting is that I'm allergic to, and I don't think that I'm just being, my consciousness is just using a certain symbology, like ancient Egyptian, because there's all sorts of things that I've experienced from other like, that would translate from the research I've done to other cultures. And there's no way that my mind, before I even knew about some of these cultures, would experience the exact same sort of structures and things that ancients have talked about before I even knew about it. Like when I was younger, I have a video I've done, we could talk about it later, that I experienced what I believe is the Well of Sheshna in Benares, India. And I had no clue that this thing even existed. And when I finally saw pictures of it a few years back, because there's like only a few known pictures of it in the world. It's a sacred well that's not for public. Um, it blew my mind when I first saw the first pictures in the public. David Icke was one of the first to post it on his channel years back. And I wasn't like a huge David Icke follower. In fact, I don't listen to much alternative radio. I used to listen to RPL and stuff, um, but I was, after some of my experiences, I was researching reptilians many years ago now, like in the early 2000s, 2000, 2001, 2002. And this is where I ended up coming across the Well of Sheshna picture. I don't know exactly. It might have been later that I saw it on his website. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that we're going to elaborate on it more later on. But one of my most recent experiences that I can recall in Dreamtime is very important, I feel, because I think it's related to when people have allergies to cats or certain hair like that or things like that. I think it's rooted in a spiritual, other reality type of encounter, or something that went even possibly wrong. What I mean is, I'm allergic to only certain cats. Only certain cats. Certain cats, I can have their hair all over me. Don't matter. It's fine. And then other cats, if they're just within 20 feet of me and there's no air flowing and like we're stuck in a room or something, I get like I have the flu. I can't even breathe. My head is, I'm drowsy. I'm all fucked up, excuse my language. But so I had a vision where I was in these, more like a trance, and instantly I was in these hallways that could breathe. They were like living, breathing hallways, and you can manifest your greatest triumphs in these living. They're like lungs of a huge giant. They're like living, breathing walls, you know, and they're they're literally like alive walls that are alive, but they're also like water as well. There you can like put your hands through them if you had to, or the different times it could be hard, or it could be, it's just a living, breathing. It's hard to explain it any other better, but it's almost like it has pores on it as well. Like it's I could draw it, but it's really intense. But you can smell the fear in the air. And the other night, I was speaking a language I've never heard of before or spoke of, and like I said, it was quite frankly, it was pretty creepy. And my wife had to wake me up because I was screaming it out in my dream. I was screaming it. Um, but it was bringing electricity in the air and into the it was like bringing lightning and thunder, and it was making the air charged. The very words I was screaming, it was like almost like a blend between Aramaic and Etruscan, like mix. It was a weird, very, very weird sound, but it had power to it. And I had come across where this huge statue that looked like it was alive as well, but it was like stationary, but it looked like it was like pulsating and alive. And it was like very similar to what we see as Isis, and I took it as it was Isis, like a statue of Isis, but different, a little bit different than she's portrayed now. I did have a sense of a dark black skin like that, but it was, the blue and gold was alive, is what I mean. Like it was like uh, uh, lapis lazuli. I don't know if that's that blue and that pure gold color was like breathing and alive, and the wings were spread out. And I took it as like I had to put myself into it, like go inside, like into that position. So I got into the statue, and as soon as I got into the statue, I saw like a scene in front of me, and it was these round-headed, like not elongated too much, but like big, bulged back head beings that look very Nubian-like. And I know that from seeing it in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and different things that I've researched. And they were offering bowls that looked like it had milk in it, and there was this huge, like, mane type lion cat thing that was sitting like, not really much like a human, but it was sitting like a cat, sitting like a lion. And it was right there in front of this how do I describe this? There was like probably 18 to 24 of these Nubian dudes, and they were all offering bowls, and they would come by one in a circular formation in front of this uh, lion type thing that was on this monument. It was on this little like a little pedestal kind of, and it was in front of it, and it would come and it would pluck a hair off its thing and drop it in the bowl as these dudes came by, and it was dropping it in the bowl with the milk. And I felt like it was something that was done either by me or one of my timelines, my past realities, some sort of ritual that involved a certain feline strain of hair, or different feline hairs. And this probably was not used in an appropriate manner, or we did something that we weren't supposed to do, or something like this. And that's why I still, all the way in this life, in this incarnation now, which could be thousands of years different, but it's like it's an eternal now. So I still am dealing with manifestations of an allergy to those certain hairs. And I think that even it's only probably a little bit of a strain of that. It's not even that pure breed. It's just a hint of these ancients that's in that DNA probably that I have of it, or that genetic memory I have of that ritual. It's just a little bit of a splash, a little hint of that. It's been watered down so much probably through all the different feline, and probably now only certain cats hold that little hint of that ancient ceremony, and that's why it manifests in a friggin' allergy and a sickness. I mean, sometimes with certain cats it's really intense, like it debilitates me. I got to go outside because I can't freaking breathe, and it's like I got a cold or a flu all of a sudden. So very interesting, because I do feel that I woke up with that feeling that what I was witnessing in my dream time had to do with the ancient spiritual technology of Atlantis and Isis. Atlantis, this is she's from that civilization. And yeah, I mean, that guy, let me see what you just said in the live chat. Black Earth Productions. Yeah, I know who that guy is. He contacted me a couple of years back. He wanted to work with me. I didn't really get a good vibe. Um, Everybody always says that he has similar info to mine. I'm sure some of his info's all right. I didn't think we'd work well together, and I didn't want to work with him. I didn't catch a good vibe. I felt a black earth. I felt the darkness. So I got enough of my own problems to deal with, and enough of my own things. I don't need anybody else's. And people misunderstand my background. See, yes, my background is of magic, but we do not make spells. We break them. We fight them. So I'm not ever drawing magic circles or doing something like that. I break spells. We help the spiritual sickness get out of the body. We don't add to spiritual sickness. So it's a completely different approach to what you would call the occult. We're a shamanic hereditary lineage that is a very rare breed. Nowadays, people just want to receive power, receive information, receive benefits from it. We do it to benefit humanity and the world, to help reestablish the balance between nature and the harmony of our evolution. This is our spiritual evolution. And this is what a Benedante is. This is what my lineage of Strega is. And, Strega, the very word has been demonized and been because it does have an origins in screech owl. And I do have an owl tattoo on a big owl tattoo on my back. All of these symbols have been demonized. The Eye of Ra symbol has been demonized. The Eye of Ra symbol to me is the Eye of God. It's the universal symbol. It opens doorways in your mind of the ancients, of who you are, of God. And my initials are RA. So it's not like I'm calling myself the sun god or something like that. People have asked me that before. It's my name is actually Ralph Anthony. It's a long name to say. So, and it sort of like my nickname or like my music name. Like people started in my band started calling me that when I was young. Even certain family members couldn't say my name and would call me rah rah like that. So it's something that stuck with me and for a long time. So it's my initials, and I used to get mail because my dad has the same exact name as me. So I used to get mail as R.A. Castaldo, and so it kind of stuck. Rock kind of stuck, and it kind of fit in a way, So especially when I was I traveled for a couple of years as a street musician, and that was definitely what everybody called me too. So my name actually means Council of Wolves. Ralph is Raffaello, or Raffaele in Italian, or Ralph Anthony, is means the Council of Wolves. That's actually what my real name is. So Ra is like a shortened version of it. And Ra, actually, in ancient Etruscan, was a deity or some sort of spirit that rescued people that got stuck in subterranean caves and caverns, or if someone fell down a deep hole, Ra would rescue. It would be like a being that would help people that were lost, especially in Volterra, where my lineage is from. This is kind of like where it comes from. My lineage, my Etruscan lineage is from Volterra, a place in Tuscany. And it's a local legend in Volterra that Ra will save people that's lost within the caves and subterranean caverns. There's a lot of subterranean caverns and mountainous regions there. And you call out to Ra if you're lost there. So it's very ancient, and even my daughter's name, Tana, is a very ancient Etruscan goddess of the stars. So we are paying respects to the ancients as well with those names. And I do feel that that ancient symbol, the Eye of Ra, is also the Fibonacci spiral within that. It's a golden ratio within that. It's the pineal gland. And I have it tattooed on the back of my neck, on the top of my vertebrae, where my Lutz bone is, right there. So I can see behind me into the other world. And we gotta check it for now, but I'm planning on doing a live stream earlier today, not later tonight, because I think it'll work out better this way until we get our own better setup. This way it works better with the baby and everybody else. So my dream is almost there. You know, it's a work in process. You know, it's once we get a better setup, then we'll be better able to fulfill our mission and unite better, because I do feel that this next year, 2020, is going to be so important for all of us, and it's up to us if we want to save our, if you want to say, consciousness, our genetic memory, our spirit, our who we are. If you want to just be in a physical trap and be stuck in someone else's box or cube, then, you know, that's fine. You might as well just go in the coffin already and just put the nail in it. But if you want to save our spiritual evolution, then it's up to us. It's up to us as a species. So thank you, everybody, for joining. It's been my honor to be able to share information with you all, and it's a pleasure to be still alive and able to share information and to talk and to build relationships out there with everybody, spiritual warriors, even the guy Reverend Parry I had, you two as well in the chat room. Wonderful to meet you as well. Even Reverend Parry I had on the other night. He's a great dude, man. I can just sense that he has a lot of knowledge within him as well. And it's up to all of us to keep our genetic history and our genetic memory alive and continually spiritually moving up that higher dimensional chain. It's thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everybody. It's been fun. Say it with me. Spiral out.